Hi everyone, and welcome to this Flexibility for Dancers series. I'm really excited to get started with you, and I want to just clarify a couple things off the bat. Number one, I am at your disposal whenever you take this series, whenever you get around to the classes. Please feel free to contact me if you have questions, requests for future classes. If you'd like me to check your form, I love getting pictures and videos. I also love seeing your progress. If you ever have a chance to take the live class, I definitely encourage it. We are not scary, as Jillian said. We love to cheer each other on, and it's really a good time. So even if you can't take the full class or you just want to pop on and say hi, I would love to meet you. That said, for those of you who have been studying with me, this is going to go a little bit differently. Typically, when I teach flexibility, it comes from circus and contortion, and there are a lot of drills, there are a lot of repeated exercises, there's some long-held holds, and we do that for building strength and endurance and also for building the mind. However, I understand that dancers really have specific desires with flexibility. Dancers need to learn how to move in and out of things beautifully. We carry a lot of weight in the aesthetics of the whole piece. And so, while we will be working on beautiful shapes, what's most important to me is that you feel like you can get into and out of things gracefully. So this style of teaching is going to be a lot more like flow yoga inspired, and it is not yoga, to clarify, and often circus trainers and contortionists will clarify that when they present classes or their contortion practice, because yoga is a spiritual practice. It's a lifestyle for many people. There's a lot of mindfulness. I would like to incorporate some of those mindfulness aspects, because when it comes to flexibility, there can be a lot of fear, there can be anxiety, there can be negative self-talk, and I want you to just be aware when those things come up. And this series, I'm going to invite you to enjoy moving in your body. And what's really important to me is that dancers walk away with something that they feel like they can use right away. And we're going to continue training you and increasing your strength and endurance so that your shapes can get deeper, so that you can build better stability, and so that you can find longevity in your practice. So it's not just about cranking into the shape no matter what. We are going to definitely talk about technique. But that said, I want you to approach this as something where you can explore to find things that you can use today. So one of the things that I really want to focus on is breath in your movement, because I feel like on stage, in the moment when we're thinking about so many things while we're performing, it's easy to forget about the breath, and that actually makes this whole idea of looking graceful and the deeper flexibility, it makes all of that more difficult. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and start lying down on the back. I have just very simple equipment today. So you can go ahead and come down onto the back, and we're gonna do a little bit of breathing. And I want you to try to really get yourself into a place where your mind is connected to your body. You're letting all of the things of your day kind of like pass away. And so you can place your hands on your belly, and we're going to inhale deeply, feel everything expand, and then exhale and deflate. You can breathe in and out of the nose, or in through the nose and out through the mouth. Notice if there's any tension in your body, and just invite that to subtly dissipate. And then, of course, as movers, you know, in yoga, there's that big belly breath, which is very relaxing. So you can take a few of those now, but in a moment, we're going to focus a little bit more on engaging the core and moving with the breath, but with that engaged abdominal action. So on your next exhale, you can pull in the abs and then just keep your abs gently engaged. You can place your hands on your ribs and inhale. Feel the expansion there, exhale. So while we still want to invite a sense of relaxation and a full breath, you are also going to be keeping your core engaged. And this is really important for all flexibility and for that concept of being stable, graceful, good posture. So this is kind of like a Pilates breath when you keep your abs engaged and you still try to like expand in your ribs. When I look outside, it's like we've got a very yellow look outside. We get really pretty sunsets, and sometimes they're super pink, sometimes they're a little yellow because we got some moody clouds. And then as you exhale as well, I encourage you to gently pull up on your pelvic floor. And that is, yes, just like a Kegel, but we're not gripping a whole bunch. So you're just pulling up a little bit. And then you can inhale and relax. Exhale, pulling in. Inhale, relaxing. All right, and next we're going to add just a little bit of pelvic tilting. So you're going to exhale and gently press your low back into the ground. And inhale to neutral. So if you are familiar with yoga, we're going to be doing a lot of things that are inspired by yoga flow. I have noticed that if I do just the right yoga flow, it actually does warm me up really well for flexibility. Well, we're going to pick and choose a little bit more strategically. Exhale, press the low back down. You can make this even a little bit of an arch right now. So inhale, gently pressing your tailbone down towards the ground, and exhale, pressing your low back into the ground. So in yoga, there's a lot of things that you can look at, twists and side bends. We'll do a little bit of that. In fact, we'll talk about how twists and side bends can make your back bends look a little bit deeper and make your shapes a little bit prettier if we kind of use them in just the right way. Good. And next, we're going to inhale into a gentle little arch. And then I'm going to take my pillow away. So I wouldn't recommend having any lift underneath your head because we're going to go into a shoulder bridge. I'm going to slowly rolling the hips up off the ground all the way up. Inhale at the top and then exhale, pull the abs in and slowly roll it down. Inner thighs engaged. Inhale at the bottom and slowly roll it up. So I do have a roller, and what we're going to do are some split slides. A, because the conditioning is awesome, and B, because the value in learning that transition gives you so many choreographic options. So a roller is good. You can also use sliders, and you can also use socks. So whatever allows your foot to slide on the ground or roll. So just think about that. It's coming a little bit later. Now when you come up here, I want you to hold for a moment. So there are a couple ways of thinking about your shoulder bridge in terms of how your legs power. What we don't want to do right now is feel like all of the work is coming into the low back. So if you think about pulling your hip bones up to your ribs, and those of you who know me have heard that cue probably about 1 billion times, I apologize, I am a broken record. But it's such a useful cue, because when you tuck the pelvis like that, hip bones up to your ribs, then you really lengthen out your low back muscles, and then you can power up from your butt a little bit better. Now, the other thing I want you to think about here is pulling your heels back towards you, okay? So go ahead and push your heels away so you feel that. That's how a lot of people will not only get into their shoulder bridge, but their hand bridge or their back bend bridge or Vajrayasana. That's not what I want. So we're going to think about pulling the heels towards us and really engaging the hamstrings. Now, your quads are also going to be working. So if all of a sudden you feel your quads getting tired, that's a great thing. Your quads need to learn how to work in a lengthened position. And part of our combo today is going to require that. So if you feel a little pull in the knees, that's sometimes just because the quads are like a little tight and they're a little scared to lengthen and they just need some gentle encouragement. So don't torture yourself, but do think about squeezing your hamstrings, which is what's really going to help to unlock your quads in the future. And then we'll do some pulses here. Up for 18, 17, 16, 15, here's 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, here's 5, 3, 2, and 1, and little knee squeezes in for 20, 19. This is just to get your inner thighs again just awake. 15, 14, 13, hips high, pull the heels back. Here's 10 and 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5. Here's 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Lift the hips up high for a moment. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale, roll it down onto the ground. You can hug the knees into the chest. Exhale, pulling the knees in, Apanasana. Inhale, and then you can stretch it back out. Again, exhale in. So another thing that you should know about me is in these classes, we have a long build up to our deepest poses or our combo at the end. There's not a lot of cool down. So my argument for that is actually scientifically based, where they're finding that cool downs are kind of malarkey for a lot of people. That said, everybody is different, okay? Everybody's different. So if we do something and you feel like, oh, you know, I really need more hip stretch, or I need more twist, or do what you need to do for your cool down for these classes and anything else that I teach. But my argument is, and this is what the data show, if you build in muscular balance, then you're not as want for cool down. Like, obviously, if your heart rate's up super high, which we don't do in here, you want to bring your heart rate back down to normal before you go sit on the couch and eat bonbons. Okay, take the arms out to the sides, then we're going to do a little twist here. So you're going to exhale, rotate the knees to the right. So everything we do is intentional. And your warm-up and your conditioning are designed by many years of my experience and seeing a lot of bodies. I always incorporate things in the warm-up that I know people just kind of need to have balanced bodies. I know most of us are going to suffer from quad dominance and tight hip flexors. And that's because of the modern world, we sit in chairs a lot. So what we do in our warm-up and conditioning and a lot of the flexibility is actually very balancing for the body in general. If you do a balanced practice, what is your cool down for? So always feel free to do extra things, and I'm happy to make suggestions. If you feel like you need them, let me know. But otherwise, we do a long warm-up, and then we actually do little to no cool down. So don't be shocked by that. Know that it's coming. Okay, now you're going to twist over to the last side here. Inhale, come back to center. And then you're going to place the feet on the ground, and we're going to do a little sweep of the leg. We're going to come up to the side and then come back to center and sweep over to the other side. Maybe I'm going to kick my foam roller. Okay. So just side to side. Using your breath. And because this is flexibility for dancers, you will also see that I'm going to have you using momentum in a way that we don't often do in our drill-based flexibility. One more time here. And then come back to center. Good. And then you're going to go ahead and hug the right knee to your chest. And I do mean I want your thigh to be as close to your belly as possible. Point your toes. Straighten the leg, flex the foot, hello hamstrings, and bring that down. My hamstrings are sore. A lot of deadlifts. Been doing a lot of deadlifts. Been cycling a lot. So this is one of the ways to nerve floss the back of the leg. You may feel this all the way up to your sitting bones. You may feel it all the way down into your foot. If your hamstrings are pretty long and relaxed, it might not be that spectacular for you, but I love this one. So you're going to straighten with a point and then flex and bend the knee. And once more, point and straighten, flex and lower. Then we're going to leave the leg straight for the next one. And you can just kind of hold it here, flexing the foot. So if you're really hugging your leg towards you, your knee will not go totally straight. That's cool. Go ahead and take your foot around in a circle now. Nice big circle. So maybe you're feeling some stretching in the foot, around the sides of the shin, the back, and the calf. Switch directions. And as dancers, our feet are part of our line. They're also part of our support. So we want to make sure that they are ready to work for us. And then from here, go ahead and point the toes. You're going to straighten your knee entirely. And then you're going to do gentle kicks with the toe pointed for 10, 9. I want your pelvis very stable here. 8. Hips are both the same height. Make sure one is not hiked up. 5, 4, 3, 2. Keep those kicks going. Go ahead and flex the foot. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let that right foot come down. Hug your left leg to your chest so the knee is bent to begin with. Keep your hips neutral. Don't let that hip hike up. Point the toes. Straighten. You're keeping your thigh on your chest, so your leg will probably not go all the way straight. Flex your foot and lower the heel. Breathing. And 1, and then we're going to go ahead and keep that leg straighter. Flex the foot, big foot circles. Switch directions. And then from here, you're going to go ahead and straighten that leg all the way. So it'll come away from your chest a little bit. Pelvis stable and neutral, and controlled kicks for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flex the foot for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. All right, shake the legs out. And then from here, we're going to come around onto the hands and knees. So anytime you feel like you need padding, we're going to spend some time on our knees. That said, I'm also going to give you the green light if your knees, for whatever reason, in the moment or just kind of chronically, don't like extra weight on them. Feel free to do a lot of stuff standing. So you could come up to standing, put your hands on your thighs, and do a cat and cow that way. We're actually going to do something called Chakravakasana. So you're going to bring your heart forward and then pull the belly in around the spine. Sit your seat back onto your heels. And then inhale, collarbones through the arms. Exhale, round the spine and shift it back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Inhale. Exhale. And once more, inhale. Exhale, round the spine. Now we're going to incorporate a little downward facing dog. So inhale, come forward. Tuck the toes. Exhale, shift into downward facing dog. Inhale, lower the knees back down onto the ground. You can bring the heart forward here, or just do a really nice arch. And then exhale, round the spine, chest to thighs. And again, we're incorporating nice, smooth breath. Good articulation from the feet and the toes. Once more. And then from here, I'm going to come up onto the hands and knees. Find your downward facing dog. Good. And then we're going to float the right leg up. So we're going to see about lifting that leg here. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, bring the knee forward. Inhale back. Exhale forward. Inhale back. And then exhale, come all the way forward. Place your foot, flow yoga, right next to that right thumb. We're gonna inhale and come up into a warrior one. And then you're gonna exhale, go ahead and pick that back heel up. We're gonna look at a standing lunge here. So we will do all the pretty lunges. However, what often happens with lunges is we really try to get that back leg straight because we like that line, but that may cause a little bit of an anterior rotation in your pelvis. So that's not gonna be happy for your low back or hip in the long run. So we're gonna think about pulling the low belly in. You can straighten out both legs or even bend your back knee a little bit. Try to get that pelvis super neutral. And then we're just gonna bend and straighten the legs up and down here for 4. If you can, tap your back knee onto the ground. If it's not going that far yet, no worries. 3, 2, and 1. Good. And then, I love this trick, so many of you have seen this before. We're gonna go ahead and find our neutral pelvis, and then you're just gonna see if you can straighten that back leg and then bend the knee. And straighten and bend. And straighten and bend. And once more, straighten and really try to get your left glute. So it's right leg in front, left glute is going to engage. So you can open up through the left hip flexors in the front here. Then you can inhale and float the arms up and try to reach your thumbs back. The back knee does not have to be perfectly straight. And then from here, you're gonna settle that heel down onto the ground for like an actual warrior one. And then you're gonna go ahead and straighten out your front leg. I can see the neighbor's dog, his tail wagging at the base of my driveway. And then you're gonna come into what we call pyramid pose in yoga. Feel free to implement blocks here, by the way, if you feel like the floor is kind of far away. So when you do straighten your leg, I want you to lift your kneecap. We're gonna bend the knee and come up into that warrior one again. And exhale, straighten. Oh, it's two tails from the neighbor's dogs coming to visit my dogs. And exhale. So we are further warming up our hamstrings here. We're also warming up our core with some instability. Being in a lunge is a really hard balance, and that was one of the comments with the combo was, wow, just going from, you know, knees together on the ground to one leg in front in the lunge. That in and of itself is a challenge, and lunges are challenging. They're deceptively challenging. Cool. Now from here, you're going to keep those hands down wherever you want them. They can be on the ground, they can be on the blocks. So you're going to lift your back heel and then lower and just give that calf a little bit of a stretch. Again, mobilizing the foot, the toes, up and down and up. I'm not locking out my front knee, so think about lifting your kneecaps. That's how you get that really nice position without hyperextending. We do not want to press backwards into the knee. And then from here, you're going to go ahead and come forward and lift your left leg up. Ooh, standing splits. So try to get that leg up as high as you can right now. And then we're going to float back to warrior one. Exhale, you're kind of going through, again, what we'd call warrior three in yoga, to your standing splits. So I'm choosing, actually, a lot of things, sequences that, yes, you can call it yoga. However, this is the beginning of a handstand pop, right? So you don't have to do that right now. If you want to, knock yourself out. But what we're working on here is finding the separate components, and eventually we'll be adding momentum to these things. But we want to make sure that our bodies know how to engage properly, have those straight legs for good lines, and have the core engagement to be super stable. Last one. Cool. Inhale. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, come into plank. And then from plank, we're just going to go plank to down dog. Now, again, those of you who are used to my traditional style of flexibility training, there's a lot of shoulders in that. And we really go out of our way to train our shoulders separately, which I argue is extremely useful. However, I'm going to sneak in shoulder warm-up, and unlike my traditional method, which follows the Mongolian contortion style to some degree. Really follows my coach's style, which is a lot of things. But Mongolian contortion is part of that, where we kind of look at, a general warm-up, lunges, front splits, middle splits, shoulders, then back bends. It's going to be a little... all of it's going to kind of be jumbled back and forth in our sequences in this series. So we're going to come back into that downward facing dog, and you're going to get ready to lift that left leg. So take a nice deep breath in, float the leg up, try to find that straight knee. Now, one of the things that drives me bonkers in yoga classes is this leg lift often ends up with a rotated pelvis and a turned out leg. I actually want you to keep your hip bones facing the ground. Okay, so twist your left hip down and your left kneecap to point to the ground so we can access the glutes and hamstrings to get that leg up. And then you're going to exhale and bring that knee forward. So we're staying in the same plane. We're not twisting out to the side. Inhale back. Exhale forward. Inhale back. Exhale forward. All right, now the next one, we're going to set the foot next to the thumb. Exhale forward. And then you're going to come up into your warrior one. And then we're going to change this to come into a lunge. So you can straighten out your legs. Scoot your back heel up so it's not on the ground, and then make sure you're pulling your low belly in to lengthen out your low back. This will give you hopefully a fairly delicious stretch at the front of that right hip. And then from here, you can go ahead and bend both knees and straighten. If you like, that right knee can kiss the floor. So when we talk about dance sequencing for flexibility, there's often a lot of various ways that we want to be able to transition down to the ground to do fun stuff, make pretty shapes, fun choreography, but we also want to be able to come back up. Lunging is one of the great ways to do that. However, as I stated before, lunges are deceptively difficult. So we're going to hold the lunge this time, not all the way down to the ground. Take a nice deep breath in, and then just straighten that back leg a little bit or a lot of it, so long as your pelvis doesn't rotate. So we're trying to pull that belly in. Really try to get your back booty to squeeze. And then from here, you can drop that heel down to the ground. Inhale, find your warrior one. And then you're going to exhale, straighten out the front leg. Bring your hands down somewhere. Maybe it's your shin, maybe you find your blocks, maybe it's the floor. Bend the front knee, my dog is singing. Arms come up. And exhale. Down to the ground. So this is also a sneaky method of doing some proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. The particular method of PNF that we're doing is called CRAC, or crack for short, and that is contract, relax, antagonist, contract. So we're engaging our quadriceps here. That's your antagonist, so you're stretching your hamstrings. And then bending the knee and engaging the hamstrings. All right, and then we're gonna end up with our hands down, blocks, shin, floor, wherever they go. And you're gonna think about lifting your kneecaps up, and then you're just gonna lift your back heel and then drop. Maybe it touches the ground, maybe not. I'm trying to straighten out my back leg a little bit, yeah. And down. And up, and down, and up. And then we're going to do a little float. So from here, we're going to take that leg
up and try to find your standing splits. Now, same thing. Try not to twist to the side and externally rotate the leg. That's really common, especially with dancers, especially with anyone who's done ballet and has trained a lot of turnout. Your turnout is amazing, but we don't want it all the time. Your standing leg as well should be neutral. And then from here, we're going to float the hands up and come into your warrior one and try not to fall over. Ha ha. Exhale forward. Good. Inhale back. Ooh. And exhale. And you may find that one side is a little different than the other. Maybe your leg doesn't go up as high. Maybe it's just a whole lot harder to keep the leg straight. Maybe it's harder to balance. And dancers do tend to be one-sided, which is why I am going to make you do everything, yes, including your combos, on both sides. Because we do not want to reinforce muscular imbalance. We want to promote muscular balance. No one is perfectly symmetrical, but we do our best to get as much balance as possible. Cool. Inhale, come on up. And then you're going to exhale, come to center. Go ahead and bend your knees and find, again, what in yoga might be called goddess squat. I call it a sumo squat in fitness, whatever you like. You are going to think about your middle splits here. So we're going to come up, we're going to go down. When your knees bend, really important that your knees track over your second toe. So I don't even mean the big toe, because I don't want your knees falling in at all. I want them to actually be pressing out. So you're activating your side butt here. That's going to be essential for your middle split. So if you want to think, twist the knees out, rotate the legs out, external rotation, all the way down. Keep that external rotation as you come up. So those side booties are squeezing. Again, you ballet dancers are going to kill it at this because you have spent a long time training this. I have middle splits in terms of flexibility. I really had to go out of my way to develop this strength. So because I'm particularly noodly, and that's another thing that dancers should know, because dancers do have a tendency to be hyper mobile, so you get flexibility kind of for free. That doesn't mean you have the strength. This creates a very imbalanced situation that puts you at risk for injury. So we're making it right. We're squeezing our side booty. Go ahead and come on down here. And then, if you like, you can place your hands on your thighs and just do a nice little twist. Inhale, center, exhale, twist. Inhale, center, and rotate. One more. Cool. Go ahead and come on up. You can turn your feet to face the front now. Find a little forward fold if you want to take that a little wider. Go ahead and be my guest. If your head happens to come to the ground, great. If not, don't worry about it. But take a few deep breaths here, and as you do, think about lifting your kneecaps up. And then we're going to place one hand in the middle. It doesn't really matter which one. You're going to inhale, float up into a twist, and exhale down. So you will also see in this series, if you're used to, again, doing the more traditional flexibility drill-like, I love that training, but we're going to be incorporating a lot more twists and side bends. First of all, for the flow aspect, but also just to kind of make sure that we can move in all planes, because that's what dancers really need to do. They're not just going into backbend, backbend, backbend splits. We're making use of all ranges of motion for full capacity of many types of expression in your movement. Exhale, bring the hands down. Turn your toes in, so you're a little pigeon-toed here. You're gonna walk the hands over to one side. I like to think about pressing the pinky toe side of my foot into the ground at this point. Inhale, come to center. And exhale, move it on over to the other side. Good. Inhale, come back to center. And slowly roll it up. Cool. So now